Good morning. Welcome to Cold Reality Radio here on the Oracle Broadcasting Radio Network. And it is 11 a.m. on the East Coast. I am Shaliak. I will be the host for the next 2 hours. And just to get it out of the way, I'm sure most people have heard that Oracle is only going to be broadcasting until the end of this month. And so, yes, there will be this episode, this broadcast, and then 2 more, and then that will be it of Cold Reality Radio. And for Oracle and all the broadcasting and programs and host on Oracle, it's a very sad day indeed. As Paul Joseph Watson would say, it's a sad day indeed for Oracle Broadcasting. But I'm sure that, change is always constant, and we are all going to move forward in some direction. And from there, only good things can happen. So I am going to cover some things today on the program, and I'm going to talk about some of the big stories, generally in the health and nutrition area. I'm going to be joined by Jordan DeYoung. We have a few testimonials here, hopefully some live ones, but we definitely have a recorded testimonial from someone who has benefited greatly from energy medicine therapy. And that's always good to hear. And so let's see. I got to go to my... Nothing seems to be working this morning. Anyway, I haven't been sleeping so good. So, I've been tossing and turning. And it's I don't even know why. But sleep apnea, some kind of craziness, just not being able to breathe. Maybe it's the chemtrails. Who knows what it's going to do to all of us. But I'm sure that, that at some point the alternative groups will find some cure for it and sell it, hopefully for a very low price, whatever the damage is from the chemtrail particulates, the geoengineering. We know it's basically to take over food, to take over the production of food, and as Henry Kissinger said, food is a weapon. So. With the GMOs. So in case GMOs are food as a weapon, it's grand scale. And again, we have a live program today, and I'm going to get into the swing of things. I haven't even had any coffee or water or anything this morning. So in my 3 minutes, this break coming up, I'm going to do so. And again, Cold Reality Radio on the broadcasting, Oracle Broadcasting Network, the first of only 3 broadcasts left. So we'll try to make the best of them, and we'll try to convey as much information to the listening public as possible. Cold Reality Radio, Oracle Broadcasting Network. Back to Cold Reality Radio here on the Oracle Broadcasting Network. I have succeeded. I have fluids. I have my dragon juice, and just a couple sips, and I have energized. I am fully energized. All right, great. We've got on the line here. We've got Jordan DeYoung. Jordan, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell everybody your amazing credentials and the path that you have chosen in life to.
I've chosen to go into energy medicine. I work with two companies, Zyto Tech and Pulse Technologies Research LLC. And Pulse Technologies is the only company that's anything like Rife and owns the microscopes and does the biological research. The Zyto is a decision point software, and it helps me to know, and specifically in this case, what frequencies to run. So they kind of go hand in hand. So yeah, that's pretty simple.
Okay. All right, and I'm going to go live to. Is it Catherine?
Yes, it is.
Hey, Catherine. Good morning. Thanks for being on the program. Thanks for.
Hi, and hi, Jordan. Before I say anything, I got to say that every day I wake up and I'm so grateful to have met Jordan. Thank you so much.
All right.
Hey, you're welcome.
That is awesome.
Well, I've got Lyme disease, and I was going to the clinic where Jordan works, and and I'm sure Jordan can explain this much better than I do, but they put me on antibiotics, and they have this continuous loop where they take blood out and put it in the UV light, and then put it back in the body. And not only was it expensive and painful and time-consuming, but it didn't do any good. And later, Jordan said that it really has never proven to work on Lyme disease. Isn't that right, Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of research coming out on it where it's good for certain bacterial loads, but the spots where Lyme hides in the body, like the brain and bones and all these places, I don't think it does a good job at getting to those places.
Well, it was awful. And one day I was sitting there, and a teenage girl came in who had had Lyme disease for about 3 years, and she barely had energy to talk. And there was a young man who was on permanent disability. He had spent $30,000 and had been to 3 Lyme clinics. And he turned to me and he said, nothing works. So that was a real low point right there.
Right.
And then I found a book. I'm sorry, did you have a question?
No, okay. Go. Continue, please.
And then I found a book that talked about the natural and traditional ways of treating Lymes, and it said that there's only one thing that gets this Lyme at 3 stages of development, and that was Rife. And I already knew what Rife was, so I was really excited, but I knew that there were so many devices out there and with dubious quality, and once I got one, what was I going to do with it? So the next time I was at the clinic, I said, does anybody know anything about Rife? They said, yeah, we've got a Rife guy. So Jordan came in, they got Jordan, and my heart sank because I am about 40 years older than he was, and I wanted to say, why aren't you in school? He did not have that arrogant, self-important air that most health professionals have, but he did have an incredible confidence and commitment. And I thought he wouldn't be working at the clinic if he wasn't good. And then he told me that he had Lyme disease and had gone to Germany for the treatment where they raise your internal temperature, and he still preferred energy medicine. And he never sold me. He just educated me and let me make the decisions. And it really, I had slid down so much that I didn't know what day of the week it was, and I was thinking how soon before I have to go into a nursing home. In about 3 weeks, the fog lifted, and it was like a miracle. So thank you.
And that was how many treatments of?
Hey, you're welcome.
I'm thinking 6, and then he said that he thought I ought to, and I was bringing water in so he could energize the water. Then he said, I think you could benefit from some silver. But I had gone to another naturopath who gave me a ton of supplements and so much silver that my fingernails were starting to turn gray. And so I was a little skeptical, but it was about 3 doses of the silver when I thought, oh my, I'm going to get through this.
Okay.
I'm almost now.
All right. So now, Jordan, did you initially perform with the Zyto to get a overall picture of where she was at?
I don't remember if Catherine came in when I still had an OnDemand and I was using the OnDemand and the PFG, or if I didn't have as many frequencies as I do now in the Zyto, but that's for sure.
Okay.
It was the plasma.
It was the what, Catherine?
Plasma.
Plasma.
The
Okay.
PF.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty recent then. I only got that thing in 2011.
That was November of 11.
Yeah, that's like the same month I got it.
Oh wow! And then by December I bought a small frequency generator with a silver maker and a Zyto scan reader, and I've been doing it every day ever since.
Okay.
Yeah, and you've been doing well. You got a husband that also uses it, right?
Every day.
Yeah.
If there's any benefit for me, I want some too. So he scans about every 3 weeks and puts the numbers into the computer and lets the program run.
You guys record all the frequencies and keep them in a spreadsheet, right?
Yeah, so we can. I don't know what it means. I'm a very analytical person, but I look and see which frequency is the usual suspect, what's showing up, and sometimes it's more candida. Or Lyme's always there. So it changes. And I feel like checking in with Jordan every couple of weeks keeps me right on top of it. And I intend to do the rest of my life. So don't get in any accidents, Jordan.
Nice. You got to somehow get this stuff, some kind of air to the to the vault of information.
Yeah, I'm excited to find something that, I can use and help, others, but they can also help themselves with it. There's remote support and it's pretty simple anyways. And people can save a lot of money, and it's a heartbreaker with Lyme in that usually someone can't get better if they're not going at it several times a week. And most people just can't afford to go into the office that much.
All right, we're coming up onto a break here. My guests are Jordan DeYoung, Energy Med, and the Energy Medicine Man, and Catherine with her testimonial of how she has recovered and feels so much better now after the energy medicine. More on the other side. Cole Reality Radio, Oracle Broadback. Cole Reality Radio on the Oracle Broadcasting Network, talking about energy medicine, talking about relief from Lyme disease. And is it Jordan? Is it always going to be there, or is the energy medicine and this treatment, can it completely extinguish it, or is it just a?
Yeah, I think it can completely extinguish it. That'll never be an FDA story that it does that. The FDA doesn't recognize that it exists, or they didn't. Not in Michigan, not 5 years ago. And then even if they admit that it exists, they won't admit that you can have it for over after 2 weeks of antibiotics. So there's huge stumbling blocks with this. And then I think average cost for chronic Lyme patients taken out of Pennsylvania to kind of relieve their symptoms just one time. And I think you get it, you can get it from spiders, I know, ticks, definitely. So, spending $16,000 every time you get this thing, which might be yearly, you just can't do it after a while unless you're learning how to fix yourself, or unless, you're born with a golden spoon in your mouth.
Right.
So, Catherine, are you there?
Yeah.
Well, all right. So
I don't know how much I spent, but I would have gone to Germany. I would have gone to any of those clinics. And I believe how inexpensive it is, and how I can sit in, watching TV in my bathrobe while I give myself a painless treatment. And my cash outlay for the device and the Zyto, I think, was $2,000. Well worth it. You can do that from anywhere.
Okay. Yeah, it's relatively inexpensive compared to the amount of money that is that has been spent. I want to say 2 weeks ago when we had Regina. It was Regina and I forget the other woman's name.
Linda.
Linda. The amount of money that they spent, trying to get what they needed, trying to get some kind of relief from their pain and suffering at the time.
Yeah.
Was like $500 a shot for just an incredible amount of money spent, and hopefully, that's the system out there. I mean, there's platforms that are making money and not not really providing anything, and of course, we're hearing 3 testimonials here, 2 Lyme and 1 medullary thyroid cancer, which Linda had, which she is it's all but gone, really. As I guess it's in remission, or if it might not even be classified as that right now. But she sounded great, and 2 sets of tennis and walking and doing things that people with cancer, with terminal cancer, just don't do.
Well, the thing with Lyme is that they'll look for cancer. Oh yeah, Catherine and I exchanged some emails earlier this week where they want to, if you go to the doctor, oh, we got to check you for cancer, because you're over 6 months old and you might have cancer, right? But Lyme they never look for. So people usually have continuing problems, and they'll go to maybe, I think it's an average of 5 to 8 doctors before one doctor even says you have Lyme. And now the antibiotics seem to be failing, and I have articles to show that, or one article that's pretty good. Right. So even when people find out what they've been dealing with for the last sometimes 30 years, it's like there's no hope for it. They have it for 3 months and all their symptoms come back. But Catherine has been really diligent, and I think all those symptoms that we got removed, we've stayed on top of everything, right?
Yeah, I still am clumsy at times, and times when I have brain fog and I can't get the words out, or times when I feel like that sore back feeling when you're about ready to come down with the flu, and that tells me I've gone way too long without a scan. So it's still, I feel like I still got it. It still keeps popping up, but I pass for normal.
Right.
Okay.
And right now the internet's horrible. Like if you find out from a doctor you have some disease, you'll go to the internet and check that disease out. Well, Lyme is getting to be, I think, one of the scariest diseases to look up on the internet. And Catherine read this book and she took it to me, my favorite book, just kidding, Lyme and Rife Machines. The guy had no credentials to evaluate any devices, and at the same time, it's this, $16 or $20 book, affordable book that's going to tell you, the secrets of the universe, which is not the case. If it did that, the FDA would have it on its burn list and just destroy it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some truths in there. I want to say it's only on the order of 40%. I had Lyme in 2006, and I did hyperthermia. And I was working at my dad's clinic, and he sent so many patients there for different cancers that I got to do the hyperthermia for free.
Okay.
I didn't really have symptoms at the time, but I had the blood work. But it's the insect vector, you can get it too easily, so that's not. It works great. Like if you can do it, I saw it work great with a lot of people. So I'm not saying that Rife is the only way or anything at all, but it certainly is helpful, and it's certainly a lot cheaper than going to Germany or the Bahamas.
But beyond that, Jordan has, he's so into it. And he other people come to him and have him evaluate their equipment, or he evaluates for himself to see how it is. And he has his own libraries of frequencies that work together. And so I can't imagine just getting one of these devices and not having Jordan coach the person through it, because he's got. You could buy the device and it's got a set of frequencies that are built into the device, but Jordan's got knowledge that he can apply to the individual.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, you have to, step outside the general frequencies, I would imagine, and start testing and doing things. And once you lock in on stuff, write it down, lock it in, and but these things. As Jordan was saying, that this bacteria morphs and it changes in ways that I think Jordan was talking about you can lock on a frequency and then some like plus or minus, like it'll go up and down or something. It's fascinating to me, but I'm sure these things I'm sure there's not just one frequency there where. I want to know. I'm going to learn more about it as I go forward. It's pretty fascinating. It's fascinating information.
Yeah, the frequencies they shift, and they'll shift from doing some kind of zapper therapy, and they'll shift from you doing antibiotics or with a candida antifungals.
There you go. All right. So we're coming up on a break here. Cold Reality Radio on the Oracle Broadcasting Network, talking about Lyme disease, energy medicine, relief from Lyme disease, and other problems. Welcome back to Cold Reality Radio on the Oracle Broadcasting Network here. My guest star, Jordan DeYoung, energy medicine man, technician, Zyto. We're going to go over some more of this stuff. And you have to repeat this information because that's the only way that people will understand that, what's going on out there, how the Zyto is the diagnostic, and the Rife, the different types of Rife machines that are out there. And as Catherine said before, that with the Zyto and the Rife machine, around $2,000, and people spend when they're out there trying to go to these different clinics to try to figure out how to improve their health in some way to feel better than the way they're feeling at the moment. They wind up spending a lot of money. You can spend a lot of money out there, and the only thing when it comes down to it is roughly about a couple $1,000. And you can take care of some of the major problems, health problems that are going on out there. So, Catherine, what I wanted to ask you, as we were talking in the break there, how did it start for you? Can you go from like A to Z and the symptoms when you realized that something was wrong for the listeners?
Well, late June of 11, I was right outside my back door, and I got a bug bite, and it was smaller than a poppy seed. And it didn't occur to me it could be a Lyme tick because I live in the city, and I don't go in the woods. It couldn't get through my head it didn't even occur to me. So within a few minutes, I had it hit me right under the lower eyelid, and my neck puffed up like mumps, and it stayed that way for 2 months. And I still wasn't thinking Lyme. I just thought that was one mean bug. And I was at a regular appointment with my doctor, and I was telling her about the mumps, and she said, "Were you bitten?" I said, "Yes." Well, she yelled at me for an hour for waiting 2 months to get antibiotics. But by that time, I really didn't want to get off the couch. And in my job, I used a lot of complex software, and I just couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't remember the shortcuts. I couldn't think logically anymore, and that really scared me because I do a lot of thinking. Mm-hmm. And then I got clumsy, and I have a recipe that I use that it's ratio of 3 to 2 to 1, and I kept messing it up. And I would try and use the touch tone to dial, and would repeatedly try and touch the phone number, and I keep messing it up. And I was really scared, and I had no idea what was going on. And the extreme fatigue is it's depressing.
So you didn't see exactly what bit you, but you know that did you feel the bite or?
Oh yeah, I could see it. It was a little dark spot, which I later learned from a book that it's the juveniles that carry the worst Lyme. I always thought I've seen the big ones, and it didn't look anything like that.
And you weren't near any trees or anything?
Well, I was, there are trees around, and we've got possums and raccoons and squirrels, but I associated with hunters. Yeah. I just couldn't believe that living in a city where I have to drive to even be in an area where deer are. Mm-hmm. That's how ignorant I was about Lyme disease. It's everywhere. And then it just went down from there. And I didn't want to, I ended up having to tell my client, I can't work for you anymore. And I remember sitting on the couch thinking, well, if this is my life, how can I still have a productive, happy life at this point? And it was almost in despair because I couldn't see a way. So, and then when that guy in the clinic said, there's nothing that can be done, I can't tell you how awful that is. Mm-hmm. And then I was sitting in the room with Jordan looking at this box with a blue light, and of course you can't feel anything. And I was thinking, am I really being foolish here? Am I just sitting in front of a box with a light bulb that's not doing anything? And it seemed like it was only about six treatments before I started to feel something. But as soon as I did, I had so much hope. I knew I had to have one of these machines.
Is there like die off or anything with this stuff when this bacteria starts getting affected by the frequencies and it starts to die? Is there any like a fluish type feeling or something like that where there's a lot of toxins or something in there the body's getting rid of, so it starts to feel worse maybe at some point? Did that happen?
Oh yeah, but then Jordan had me. I take charcoal every day after a treatment, and I have an infrared sauna and take dry salts and C and magnesium, and I eat really, really well. So I think because of years of eating well, it put me in a position where I could bounce back quicker.
Right.
Oh yeah. That's definitely true.
Yeah. So, I mean, at the time of the bite, you considered yourself a pretty good, having a good diet, organic, things like that, or no?
Yep, been on organic food since 1976. Mm-hmm. All free-range chicken.
What was that, Jordan?
I said, whoa, that's ahead of the curve. I mean, a lot of people are just getting into it now.
Yeah. I think that's really what made me bounce back so quickly and handle the die-off, because I did feel that. But I just kept well, and that was a real incentive to stay to a clean diet. Lots of water, lots more water than I thought I could drink to flush everything out.
Right. Great.
Yeah. I think deer really get a bad rap, and I've read this in some books too. Is that deer generally don't come into our house and displace ticks all over the place, but mice get right in our homes, and sometimes probably in our beds when we're sleeping or something too. And like a cat or a small dog, if after these little animals that can carry the ticks, they're often brought into the house. That's how my uncle got it. Was his cat came in, sat on his lap. He's in the city in New Jersey, and it bit him, and he got over it with antibiotics. He got on it right away, and he got lucky in that instance.
Right. So he lives in Jersey?
Yeah. And we're on like western Michigan, and like Wisconsin, Minnesota are getting really bad, and then it kind of wraps around the lake shore, and there's some really bad pockets just northeast of Chicago here in Michigan.
Right. Yeah, so as I said to Jimmy before, where Jimmy Holman, I said, do you think that that this was engineered, that Lyme disease was created? He said, absolutely. Now, Jordan, do you think Lyme disease was created to do exactly what it's doing?
I think it was, I think it was created, and I think it was created to be untreatable by antibiotics, and also treatable with some means, which were the Russian energetics, as they call it.
Right.
But I'm just glad that there's something there. There's a lot of different species of Lyme. When people get Borrelia burgdorferi, and almost all the Borrelias cause a lot of the same symptoms, and I think they're all pathogenic. So they all cause disease, as far as I know. In California, there's like Borrelia hermsii, that's really bad. There's Duttonii. The Russians found I found an article where like the Russians found 4 new Borrelias last year, and that's not going to go in the test. So if someone has all the symptoms, they have some other Borrelia, and they get tested for Borrelia burgdorferi, i.e. Lyme, it'll come up negative, and then they'll keep on searching without going after it.
Right.
But if I have some frequencies that someone reacts to that are close to the Lyme frequencies, or they are the Lyme frequencies themselves, then we can do something about it. And even some of the other species, like Charbonne, who I'm working with now, she has frequencies calculated that Jimmy hasn't, gotten around to, because he likes to do the biological work so much. Yeah, drops are a common symptom, and Catherine talks about clumsiness. People will, I know my mother was dropping knives and dropping just everything, and I've heard that from a lot of people. I've even had that when I was dealing with it, and muscle cramps. That was probably my worst thing, is I would get...
We're coming up on the break here. We're coming up from this break. We're back on the other side. We're broadcasting. I can't really hear my bumper. So, we are live. All right. Welcome back to Cold Reality Radio here on the Oracle Broadcasting Network. We've been talking about energy medicine. That is the topic out there that we have been, Jordan and I have been discussing here for, I guess, since December 9th, I think it was the first program. And a lot of these programs are available in archive here on Oracle, at least for the next 3 weeks. And then, of course, on Jordan's YouTube site, Ondamed Jedi, ONDAMED space Jedi, but if you just type in Ondamed, you should see it there. It'll come up, Ondamed Jedi, and then there's a bunch of shows and testimonials and things on his site that you can also learn from and share with people that have Lyme, and get it rolling. There's no sense in wasting money, and there's no sense in wasting money and time when we can see the effects, and we can see the work, and I'm sure on his site, on these archives, on his YouTube site, you can see that this is effective. We've got 2 testimonials here over the last 3 weeks of people benefiting greatly from Jordan's work, and simply, and you can do it from home. That's another thing. Like a lot of people, you don't even have to leave your home to be able to benefit from these treatments. Is that right, Jordan?
Yeah, you don't have to expose yourself to MRSA and other things while you're sick and your immune system's compromised. That's a really nice thing about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I did my Zyto clinic just right from my living room in here. just, I want to say 6-7 weeks ago, something like that, maybe a month and a half ago. As I said, I found information that I got from, I have a chiropractor who's a kinesiologist who tested me for a number of different things. Jordan picked out right away that, that my vertebrae were out of alignment, C5, C7, and I think he said T5 or T6. And of course, I've had my adrenals that have been overworked or, just through the roof. As Jordan said, he was like, wow, what's going on with that? And then it turns out that C7, the cervical vertebrae, C7 is tied to the adrenal gland. And that's constantly going out of me. I mean, C in between like C5, and then of course, every now and then like C1, like my upper neck and my lower neck just kind of go out. And so a lot of things that I kind of knew or was told by my kinesiologist. Kinesiology is just muscle testing and energy in the body. Being able to he just told me that my adrenals were just like out of control. And as soon as I did the Zyto, maybe like 10 minutes in, Jordan said, your adrenals, what's going on with that? So, I mean, this stuff is real. It's it's there. I can hold a supplement in my hand. If it's good for me, then I pass the muscle test. If it's bad for me, I fail it. And whatever it is, if I put it in my body, it's going to weaken me. I don't even have to put it in my body. I just have to hold it, and it weakens me.
Do you want to talk about symptoms more, or
sure,
different therapies that Catherine did? I know we were talking about like muscle stuff before the break. I had the cramps. The OnDemand pulsed electromagnetic field device wouldn't take care of it, and I was at dinner with a bunch of OnDemand people, i.e., like the owners and the other trainers for OnDemand. They're like, well, why don't you just OnDemand it? It didn't work. Right. Catherine talked about doing some naturopath or someone said to cover yourself in honey, right?
Yeah.
And you'll do anything when you have this because it's horrible. And there's not a lot of answers out there. And the answers that are out there, they're easy to find, seem to not work.
Yep.
So you got that. There's a lot of neurological stuff, i.e. you'll forget numbers, you'll forget names. Blurred vision is very common because of all the toxins that the Lyme releases in the brain. You'll have difficulty with night vision too, which is a sign of brain toxicity. So it's something that divorces you from your life is Lyme, but you look fine usually on the outside
right.
Until it gets real bad.
Wow.
And you think it's a matter of mind over matter. Just push yourself a little bit more. I'm lazy. That's why I must be tired. If you don't know that it's Lyme, it's a mystery. And then I had doctors saying, well, it couldn't possibly be Lyme because of where I live, or it couldn't possibly be Lyme because that's not the symptoms. And I never ran into a doctor who knew what he was talking about.
Yeah.
There's therapies ranging from, I know you said like it's all in your mind sort of a thing, and there's a lot of people out there that'll say, for instance, there's someone on Twitter that followed me who's a naturopath. They're like, you are bigger than a tick, so you can beat Lyme. That is bull. But what's even worse than that is you have Lyme disease, so get Jesus, and Jesus will turn your brain into a Rife machine. Your brain that's been compromised by the Lyme.
That sounds legitimate. Come on, man. That's
my family illness is a symptom of weakness. So, a weakness of the spirit.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you don't muscle test strong with the Bible, you're not getting over this thing. That's what some people really do.
Right. I'm sorry to hear that you didn't have a lot of support from your family. I mean, that's, I think I think that just comes from in the family. I think that just comes from them being helpless. Like they don't know what to do for you, and they don't know they just don't know how to deal with other people's sickness because they don't even know how to deal with their own. So the resolution is to attack you. Which is bizarre. Like, you're. What did your family say that it was a weakness that
weakness of the spirit?
Weakness of the spirit. Are they very religious?
There's a lot of Christian Science influence in our family.
Okay, all right. And what is are you spiritual but not like religious? Like I don't buy into any of this stuff. All these Abrahamic religions and the
No.
I just don't buy into it anymore. It's caused too much trouble, so I'm done with it. I'm just going to be spiritual.
Yeah.
And then and hopefully that'll get me into the pearly gates if there is, in fact, the pearly gates anywhere. But all right, so if you're experiencing any of these symptoms, that cannot be like weakness, dropping things, and a lot of people might be diagnosed with MS or something like that, right? If they go in.
Oh yeah, MS, Parkinson's, ALS, sometimes ALS, not usually, and there's usually co-infections, I think, with that.
Right.
But there's things as little as if you have an uncontrollable temper and think extremely violent thoughts. That's another symptom of Lyme, and a lot of criminals, I'm sure, have been compromised by this. And even talk about criminals like George Bush was treated for Lyme disease. So I don't know if that's out, for him,
right,
or not. I don't think so.
That's his defense. I had Lyme. It made me think.
I had Lyme.
It made me think awful things.
Right. The Lyme said I needed to kill a couple million people.
Right.
Right.
So, all right. So that's what's going on here. We got a Lyme disease is much bigger than the controlled media is telling you, and it's epidemic in so many ways, and it's misdiagnosed because of the horrific practices out there. People that actually think they know what's going on. The doctors that are really just drug pushers for their pimp, the Food and Drug Administration, and things just kind of just keep going, just keep degenerating into bad times. So Oracle Broadcasting, Cole Reality Radio, come back. Cole Reality Radio, Oracle Broadcasting Radio Network. All right, so we spent the first hour talking about energy medicine. It's like the headlining topic here. It has been for the last 2 or 3 months, off and on, having Jordan on, talking about Jordan on, Jimmy Holman, Nina Silver, and so far now about 3 testimonials. One thyroid cancer. I think it's medullary. It was medullary thyroid cancer. That was Linda, who is thriving today after dealing with and working with the energy medicine. And of course, Regina from 2 weeks ago, and today Catherine, who was dropping things, brain fog, couldn't think clear, could not think clearly, and just absolute symptoms that would just frighten the heck out of anyone. Like, what is happening to me? Why is this happening to me? Why do I feel this way? Why am I dropping things? Why can't I think? Why am I so fatigued? Lyme is more and more now. We're finding out Lyme.
Yeah, it's not always Lyme, but it's so common now, where it wasn't 15 years ago, and it wasn't 5 years ago. 5 years ago, and definitely 8 years ago, only dogs in Michigan had Lyme. And we were, I think, rated the second worst state for canine infected Lyme disease.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Wow. It's the exact same bacteria, but, you know, the people in Michigan that were trying to get their insurances to pay for it, they officially did not have it. So oftentimes, if you're a pet, you can get better treatment for Lyme than if you were a person.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's not all that outrageous of a thing to hear, because, you know, we are just basically numbers, and you know, and of course now with the Obamacare, now it's going to get worse. There's going to be more and more of you know, this disease proliferation, disease created by, you know, it might even be now people are, you know, might be able to get this Lyme disease from vaccines, right? I mean, couldn't they actually put it in just in a vaccine? If the tick can be weaponized to put it into the body, couldn't it just be injected through a needle?
Well, there's the guy that's kind of stalling a lot of this, you know, just Lyme being recognized or Lyme being long-term because they're coming out with a Lyme vaccine. His name's Alan Steer, and he needs to be petitioned and, you know, just sent to jail, really.
How do you spell his last name? Satan? Is it S-A-T?
I think it's S-T-E-E-R-E.
S-T.
We've created some memes to expose this, like, i.e., do you like Lyme disease? Well, then you'll love my new vaccine. There was, in the Western blot, there was these 4 parameters that would be assessed or tested to see if you had Lyme. And if you had 4, like any of the 4, then you had Lyme disease. That was in 94, 93, 95, that time. And 2 of them were taken out.
Okay, we got about 8 seconds of break here.
Okay,
hold that thought.
The vaccine. Yeah.
Hold that thought. We'll return in 3, Cold Reality Radio. All right, welcome back to Cold Reality Radio, the Oracle Broadcasting Network. We have another caller, another testimonial. His name, he's worked with Jordan. They've worked together on some of the problems that he's been having with his health. His name is Andy. Andy, go ahead and tell us introduce yourself. Tell us something about you and what problems you were having.
Hey, can you say that again?
Yeah, and I just introduced you on there. Can you give us an idea, like just introduce yourself to the listening audience, and then give us some background information about. Okay, I think we lost him. We lost him in the queue. All right. He just kind of dropped out of the queue, but
I'm sure he'll call back.
He'll give a call back, and we'll bring him live. Can you give us some background on him? So.
Yeah, I'll give a background on him. Andy was dealing with quite a number of problems, and I think his girlfriend's mom said you need to go in and do some Rife therapy, and here's like $500 or something. And he came into the office, and he's looks real healthy. He's a huge dude, and he was involved in a lot of military service, 9 years, and he had problems. And I always ask, what's going on, and so I could see if the Zyto can associate things that we know that's going on with energetic balancers that were associated with that. But in Andy's case, he could not tell me what he's been exposed to because of contracts he signed with the military. So the Zyto is able to find things and work on him despite the fact that he's under some kind of oath or penalty if he tells me what exactly is going on.
So he's currently active military.
I don't think he's active right now.
But at the time?
Yeah.
Or does this contract extend past his active military status?
Extends past active military status.
Okay.
So a civilian could not know, and the military is really compartmentalized.
Yep.
So he said during the break that it was concussion after concussion after concussion. In the YouTube video, I think he goes and says that 13 improvised explosive devices went off around him. So that, yeah, being exposed to a tick is one thing, and being exposed to a homemade bomb is another one.
Sure. Yeah, no doubt. And, I'm going to give the 866-841-1065. Andy, if you're listening and you want to give a call back in, 866-841-1065 is the call-in number. And we still got plenty of show left, so hopefully, is there a way that maybe you can reach out to him and let him know he might be having cell phone problems or something like that?
He just sent me a text message and said it would be 10 minutes.
Okay.
So I don't know if this is a good time to play Chris's because, Andy, I'm sure, can fill like the last 30 minutes of pure show that we have.
Okay, let me see if I can cue something up here.
Do you have Chris's stuff?
I've got DCC Testimonial 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm going with 1?
Right.
Okay, let's see what we got.
My name is Chris. I'm 49 years old. I've had chronic health problems for the last 17 years that have been bad enough to prevent me from generating an income. I have reason to believe that I have some sort of central nervous system infection, though exactly what type, I'm not sure. But 3 months ago, I was able to acquire a Pulse Technologies PFG direct contact device through Jordan DeYoung, and I just want to let people know what I've experienced with that. First, let me say a little bit about what my problems have been. I earned my DC degree when I was in my late 20s, and I worked as a chiropractor for 7 years, had my own practice. And those 7 years should have been the best years of my life. But
Jordan, can you hear me? Jordan?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so you can hear the audio as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
They were actually the worst, because during that time I lost my health. I lost my health after only 4 years in practice, and I hung on to the practice another 3 years, but it just dwindled down to nothing. When you don't have good energy, you cannot attract people into your office. In that 4th year in practice, I became profoundly depressed, not suicidal, but just had a lot of depression. And then a few months later after that, the next year in January, I got some sort of, seemed like a viral infection. My energy was really extra poor. But my body would never go through the inflammation process to overcome that infection and deal with it. But that after 5 or 6 weeks, that did finally resolve in a dramatic fashion. I got up to go to work that morning, and suddenly a severe vertigo hit me, and I mean really severe. I had to get down on the ground, put my head on the ground, because if I didn't, I was in danger of violently vomiting. I was not in good shape. Along with that vertigo, my right eye muscles that control the eyeball, they spasmed, and my right eye was looking in a totally different direction than what my left eye was, and it was an extremely disconcerting feeling. I was in that state for about 3 hours. The vertigo was so bad and the danger of throwing up was so bad, I couldn't even get my head up off the floor, couldn't get to a phone to call my assistant and have her cancel my patients for that morning. But it did resolve after about 3 hours, and after that, the fatigue feeling from the viral infection was not there anymore. But then it wasn't that I was getting better. I was actually getting worse. I went through next several months with some intermittent nervous system problems. I had that problem with my eyes and the vertigo that I just described. I had less severe times of that, probably another 5 or 6 times through the next several months. And I also had a couple of times, short, only 90 seconds, but in my right eye, it suddenly looked like somebody was holding construction paper, gray construction paper in front of it. And I could even see the grain of the paper of what it looked like, although there was no paper in front of my eye. It looked like somebody had just punched some holes, some jagged holes through that paper, and I could see the actual visual information behind it. But most of it was just this gray field of a grainy construction paper look. That happened twice. I also had some instances where I'd be walking along and my right foot would have some problem with foot drop, and it would drag on the ground because of weakness there. Or if I was carrying a fairly heavy book in my right hand, I might suddenly drop it. I just wasn't able to maintain the grip on it like usual. That happened several times. But then in September of that year, that's when the real bomb went off in my life. On a Saturday, all of a sudden, within just a few minutes, I had this huge flood of numbness come into my right side of my body. It was I would say about an 80% loss of sensation in the right half of my body. It was worse in the central part of my body, less out to my extremities. It was very uncomfortable, not painful, but just felt really strange. Also, when I would move, there was a strange buzzing sensation that would accompany it. The numbness was there all the time.
All right, we're going to continue with this recorded testimonial on the other side of the break. Cole Reality Radio, oraclebroadcasting.com. Back to Cole Reality Radio here on the Oracle Broadcasting Network. We're listening to a recorded testimonial here. We're just going to go right back to it. Pretty severe symptoms from this gentleman. Let's continue.
But the buzzing sensation was evidently only associated with movement of my joints. And I went to bed that night really hoping it would be gone the next day. But it wasn't. It was still there. When it happened, I was very concerned about what was going on with me. I was wondering, am I experiencing a stroke or a transient ischemic attack? What's going on? My blood pressure was fine. Didn't know what was going on. So 2 weeks later, I made an appointment with a very good neurologist. I described to him the neurological symptoms I'd been experiencing, and he said, well, I'm pretty sure that you must have multiple sclerosis or some sort of demyelinating disease. We ended up doing a brain scan, and the brain scan was negative. There were no white patches of demyelinated areas showing up. So he said, well, good news. You don't have MS. What you do have, some sort of viral infection in your brain. Those are very difficult to track down and diagnose positively, but he said that's what you must have going on. Not to worry. In 6 months, maybe 9 months, it'll all go away. It didn't feel to me at that time like it was going to go away, so I said, what if it doesn't? And he said, well, if in 3 months it's not gone, come back and see me, and we'll talk about it then. So in that 3 months, I had already thought for a little while that I had MS, because it took some time for the time he first told me that. It took about a month before I actually got the report on the MRI, and he said I didn't have MS. So I made changes in my diet, cutting out saturated fat according to, I believe it's Roy Swank, the Swank MS diet. And I had also had some indication I was protein deficient, so I began to add some measure of protein and began to take some free-form amino acids in my diet. And this had brought the numbness to where it was probably about half as bad as it had been when it first came on. But it wasn't giving any sign of going away. So I went back to see this neurologist. And he said, oh, well, he said, no problem. He said, it'll go away with it. It may take a year, it may take a year and a half, but it'll go away. Well, turns out he was wrong. It never went away. This nervous system condition has been my constant companion ever since. I would really like to make it go away. Since it didn't go away as he promised it would, I thought that he was dead wrong. He must be wrong about the viral problem. But I've come to the conclusion that probably he was right on half of it. He's probably right that I have some sort of pathogenic microorganisms creating this nervous system condition that I have. He was just wrong about it resolving so nicely and so easily.
All right, so that's the first part, right? I guess we just go right on to 2 here then, right?
Yeah, just go right on to 2.
All right, so I just want to say something. Like he said that this one woman said in a book that get rid of saturated fats and things like that.
Yeah, I heard him say, free-form amino acids. Some labs will look at your blood work and assess what amino acids you're low on, and then create a supplement with the exact ratios of amino acids needed to rebalance your system. Yeah. It sounds like he's talking about that a little bit. Okay.
Because, I listened to this Joe Wallach any number of times, and when he tells people that if they want to change their health around, that they have to stay away from processed meats, they have to stay away from, he never says saturated fat. He says stay away from fried foods. Because whatever happens to the fat has some effect on the myelin sheath, right? That's around the cell in the brain, right?
Well, around all cells.
Around all cells, right?
Yeah.
and then that breaks down or something, and when evidently when that gets affected, then these neurological problems start to happen. I'm going to open up on 2 here.
Yeah. Now, along with this loss of sensation in the right half of my body, which I think would be appropriate to call it hemiesthesia, I've also experienced a loss in my overall mental capacity, and especially my memory. I was blessed with a fairly quick mind. I was a valedictorian of my high school. I haven't lost all my mental capacity, but it has been adversely affected, no doubt about it. Along with those things, I've also experienced a lot of fatigue, particularly in the mornings. It'd be very appropriate to say that I have delayed sleep phase syndrome or disorder. My normal 24-hour circadian rhythm has been rather severely disrupted. Years ago, it was to where I couldn't hardly go to bed until 2 o'clock in the morning. And then it got to be maybe 3 to 3:30 in the morning before I could go to bed. And then it got to be 5:30. And 3 months ago when I purchased the PFG unit, it was to the point where I really could hardly ever go to bed before about 8 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes I could get to bed at 6:30, but that didn't feel normal for me. 8 o'clock was about the time I felt like I could go to bed and actually sleep. Our circadian rhythm is controlled largely by the production of cortisol. Cortisol, produced by the adrenal glands, is supposed to come up really nice and high when the sun comes up, and that wakes us up, gets our energy going, and then it gradually tapers out through the rest of the day, and by nighttime it should be getting low to where we say, whoa, we're ready to sleep, we've got to get in bed. The normal pattern of my cortisol levels have been disrupted for a very long time, and I can say that if everybody in the world had this condition, well, then the world would look extremely different. No one would get up before noon. Nobody would be to work before, say, 3 o'clock or maybe even 6 o'clock. No nation would ever go to war with any other nation because nobody would have the energy to do so. Anyway, suffice it to say that the health problems I have, they have had a crippling effect on me for a number of years. And this is in spite of the fact that on the outside, I look fine. I'm not in a wheelchair. I'm not on crutches. I smile. I'm nice and kind to people, and I speak like I have no health problems at all. But my energy production is way off from normal. Now, I've been very determined to recover my health and to gain my power back, and I've done quite a number of things to try to do that, everything that I can think of to try. For quite a number of years, I focused very heavily on perfecting my diet, making sure that everything I was eating was good for me, it was healthy. For a long time, I thought that if you just would find the right nutritional supplements along with a good diet, that you could just about cure anything. Well, I found out that that's not quite so. Now, Jordan in the past has had, while he was doing an interview, a caller named Richard has called in and said, look, the environment of the body is the most important. And Richard, if you're listening, I'll say I agree with you, that is so. And if your nutritional status is off, you can't maintain your health, and you're certainly not going to be able to regain your health. But I can tell you for sure that for myself, and I'm sure other people with difficult chronic health problems, good nutrition and even good nutritional supplements alone is not enough to regain your health. And I, for one, am really glad there's something else out there. I've tried a number of devices. Soon after I went out of business as a chiropractor, I invested $4,500 into a frequency-generating device associated with another chiropractor that I'll leave nameless. I think it was a great device, but it didn't help me. In 2008, I didn't have any money by that time, but my father graciously purchased an On-Demand for me because I got real excited about the On-Demand, and I thought, wow, if I could just get that, I think I could get well. The On-Demand is a great device. It's unique on the planet, nothing else like it, but it's dependent on being able to sense the pulse, and I was no good at that. So, wonderful machine, but it didn't end up really doing much for me. Then I came across the Bob Beck devices. I tried those, and those are good. I didn't try the ozone generator, but I got a blood electrifier and I got the magnetic pulsar from Soda Instruments, and those were good. They're helpful. They just didn't create any lasting change for me. And then I had the opportunity to use a Curatron. Again, that's a wonderful machine. And while I was using it, I would feel more positive. I would feel some more energy, but the effect seemed to only last for hours. I can say for sure it didn't change what I had going on. So it was at that point that I found Jordan because of his YouTube channel and the fact that he owned an OnDemand. Began to look toward getting some of the Pulse Technologies devices. I would really like to get a plasma unit, and I plan on doing it when I'm able to get enough money together. But for the time being, the PFG unit is what I'm using, the direct contact unit. I started off with that and got the Zyto hand cradle from.
All right, on the other side.
I admit I might get a tad bit pissed. All the slaughter in the world and you can't do ish. Now my daughter's in the world, there's a brand new twist. I got high power tools in my shed to summarily separate fools from the head. Some think I drop certified jewels every week, others know I heavily enforce.
Welcome back. Oracle Broadcasting, Cold Reality Radio. A little bit of Payday Monsanto there. Hopefully going to get Payday on here in the next couple of weeks before the shutdown, the network shutdown. If you're listening to Payday, I'd like to have you on. Let me know. All right, so let's get back to the testimonial here. Let's see.
Jordan, to test me remotely. When you get a new device and you've got health problems, you want to be cured overnight. And you're really disappointed when you're not. I didn't notice any change to start with. I also happen to have an Asira. Jordan has mentioned that before, that an Asira and a Zyto kind of do the same thing. He's got experience with both. In the Asira is programmed a whole lot of Rife frequencies. And so I have used both Jordan's testing remotely with the Zyto and used my Asira to test myself to find the frequencies that will be appropriate for me. And even though it looked like in the beginning that nothing was happening, I started in the middle of December with the PFG unit to treat myself every day, almost every single day. Then about the middle of February, some changes did start happening. I noticed that sometimes I would feel like I needed to sleep a whole lot extra. I was still sleeping all day. And then other days, I could hardly sleep at all through the day. And so this was different. By February 23rd, I believe, was the last day that I actually slept all day long. Go to bed at about 8 and sleep all day long. I was in bed for 10 hours that day. Because of sleeping so late, I wasn't able to go to bed at all the next morning. And I stayed up all the next day. And then I was really tired that evening. And it's kind of like the gears of my body just shuddered and shook, and they finally fell into place. And since that time, I have been able to go to bed at a proper time, wake up in the morning, and my energy still fluctuates up and down, particularly in the mornings. But for me, this is a huge change, that this delayed sleep phase syndrome is finally seeming to be resolved. I've still got a good ways to go, but I finally have found something. After trying so many things and being disappointed so many times, I found something that's working for me.
All right. 1-1.
Jordan suggested that I talk a little bit about how I'm using the Asira to come up with frequencies to be used with the Pulse Technologies devices. Both the Zyto and the Asira are attempting to extract information from the human body field about what will be helpful to rebuild it wherever it may be disrupted. The thing about doing energetic testing is it's very tricky. If you do a test and it comes up with these answers and you say, wow, that's great. But then when you do a second scan, you get a whole different set of answers. And if you do a third scan, you get another whole different set of answers. So the question comes up, which one of these are right? Is the first test right? The second test right? Third test right? Are they only partly right, or are they all just a bunch of garbage? I've come to the conclusion that we don't have any instrument available that can be 100% accurate with its findings. If we had a device that had the mind of God programmed into it, then it would be 100% accurate. But we're not going to ever have that. So I believe we're always going to have some degree of inaccuracy in this testing. But it's also not a bunch of garbage. There's useful information in there. So I've decided that I would incorporate repeatability into my testing procedure. What I've ended up doing with my Asira, when I do the right...
All right, we're going to pause this. There's probably about 3 minutes or 4 minutes left on that recording, but we're going to go to Andy. Let's see. We're going to go Andy right now. Andy, welcome back.
Hey, how you doing? Sorry about that.
Okay.
But, love the cell phone service.
Gotcha. I figured it had something to do because you couldn't hear me, and then next thing you know, you dropped. So, all right. So Jordan kind of filled us in on some of your background. Just start wherever you feel that you want to start.
Well, I heard about Jordan through my girlfriend's mom. She actually went to a place a little bit south from me, and it was called a Rife machine. So I learned, what they're doing about it and everything and how it helps and pulls out toxins, through the foot baths and whatnot. But I also learned that it wasn't as advanced as it should be. It was, I believe, hopefully I'm saying this right, it's on an analog frequencies. So when my girlfriend's mother said that, hey, there's a clinic closer to you and they use something that's a little bit more high tech, you should check it out because I had frequent migraines from traumatic brain injuries, and I had cancer that was brought on from some chemicals that I can't really go into that I was exposed to overseas. So I wanted a better quality of life. I didn't want to go 10, 15 years down the road and get cancer again. And these migraines were just really teetering the way that I was living my life. And
what type of cancer did you have, Andy?
I had testicular cancer.
Okay.
And, just for food for thought, I was one of the 9 people in my battalion that was operating within areas that also had testicular cancer over a 10-year period.
Wow. Okay.
So anyway, I was interested in it, and I thought, hey, if something can help me and get rid of these migraines and get rid of any of this toxins and stuff that is inside my body, then hey, I'm all about it. And so I met with Jordan, and we went over some things, some past histories and stuff that was exposed to what we're going to be going over. Hooked me up to the plasma machine through Pulse Technologies, the palm sensor. So we just went over a couple tests, and I came up positive for quite a few things. We worked on getting rid of the candida multiple times. Some other things that Jordan probably know better than I would of what I came up positive for. But
Jordan, what did he come up positive with?
Well, I have all these micro step lists. So I have this huge thing with molds and biological work that Pulse Technologies has done with molds. And what Andrew seemed to be exposed to, one of the things was a type of mold, apparently. And I think that was the Iraqi rot that we dealt with. And it found a frequency that was close to the ones that are here in the States that was good enough to work for the fungus that was overseas.
Okay. All right. So he had candida and a particular type of mold, and then was there anything else in particular that stood out from his evaluation?
I don't remember the exact evaluations. I go through chemicals, I go through heavy metals, I go through the spine stuff, as you know, hormones, and then I set all those up as the problems that we're working with, and then associated balancers would be the frequencies.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great. I just wanted to kind of see if there was anything in there. Obviously, it's all pertinent information. Andy, I guess continue. Let me ask you this: what particular time were you overseas? Was it in the early '90s, right? This was this the Iraq conflict?
No, this was actually Iraqi freedom and enduring freedom.
Okay.
So it was. I deployed a total of 4 years, multiple deployments, and from 2002 to 2010.
Okay. All right. So I guess just continue with from that point. So you did the evaluation, and then I guess on to treatment.
Yeah, we just jumped right into it. You know, as I would sit there for a period of half hour to an hour. Sometimes we'd double up the sessions, and you know, he'd educate me, give me pamphlets on, you know, what yeasts are, what they actually can do to the body, pretty much everything that I wanted to know. Jordan was just a, you know, vast wealth of knowledge. He just was just telling me all about everything that this can do for you, and you know, we're talking about how it could help my son who's autistic, and you know, I said that it's funny that I don't know if I could really get him to sit still for more than 5 minutes at a time, and with a plasma machine, Jordan stated that he technically doesn't have to stand still. He could be in the next room, and I could do treatments on him. So,
all right, Andy, hold that thought. We're going to go into a break. We got a final segment. I want to talk a little bit more about you and your son with autism. Cole Reality Radio, OracleBroadcasting.com. Cole Reality Radio here on the Oracle Broadcasting Network. We have Jordan DeYoung. He's been my guest and co-host for the better part of the entire program today. And we have Andy, who is giving a testimonial to the support and healthcare that he's received from Jordan, and we're going to hear what the results are. So you guys just take it away.
Yeah, sure. So Andy was on a, you know, kind of a limited budget and had a bevy of issues going on, but you know, I sensed that, and we did some longer, you know, self-treatment sessions that are normally called for. But he came in, it was, I think, arthritis, migraines. He mentioned the cancer, hernia, and I think there was sleep problems as well. So Andy throws, you throw shot put, right, or is it disc?
I do, actually I do shot disc, javelin, and hammer.
Yeah, and having a hernia kind of puts a cramp in that, doesn't it?
Yeah, I had to sit for last year because of the hernia. So,
right. I think with that we did plasma sometimes, or sometimes we were running the plasma at the same time that you're doing a direct contact. And I think a few times, you know, we put one of those electrode pads right where the hernia was, right?
Correct.
Yeah, and Zyto dictated frequencies that we needed to run there, and we ran them, and it just got, how many times did you end up seeing me at the office, Andy?
Let's see, well, I would say 10 times and then 2 free sessions.
Oh, yeah. Okay. What was the first thing that you noticed? Did you notice anything the first time you came in, or was it delayed?
It was somewhat delayed. I really noticed something. It was in our third session. I actually felt something. It felt like something came out of my face, like that was lifted out of my skin. It was really, really, really weird. But that night was actually the first night that I was expecting migraines. No migraines came. And over the process of the treatments, I went from having 3 to 5 migraines a week to none, and monthly maybe 1. And I haven't had a migraine since.
Wow.
Yeah, we haven't heard it from you. You were exposed to some improvised like pipe bombs and that, weren't you? Or those improvised?
Yes, roadside bombs. Yep.
Oh. Yeah. There's a lot of serious issues going on, and I didn't know what I was tackling, and Andy couldn't say, but the Zyto assessments were enough to give me a it worked as a decision point, and apparently worked well enough for it.
Yeah, it kind of narrowed things down to certain areas of interest, and then you just approached it, from just from the, basically it just kind of maybe goes into like a flow chart type thing where, okay, well, we had this before, let's try this. We've had people that have had this before, let's try this. And
yeah, one of the really important things is the amount of water that Andy drank, and that he was continuing to do exercises, which, Andy, did you ever get into taking the charcoal after the sessions, or no?
No, I was drinking the water that was next to the plasma machine, and then also the silver that you made for me.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That generating your own colloidal silver with specific frequencies is extremely important, and it seems to do a lot. I call it homeopathic silver, so it's not confused with the stuff that the patients buy at the store.
We'll have to do something on that, on the creation of that or something. That sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And I have a question for Andy, just real quick. Yeah. Now, you've had all these health issues that have been alleviated. What about do you stay in contact with people that you were in battle with over there?
I do.
What is their health like? What are they experiencing the same thing, more or less, or what?
We've had one confirmed new case of type of cancer, and he actually recently just passed away. It was started off as melanoma and then increased and metastasized everywhere.
Wow.
And his family actually just settled a lawsuit. Can't really disclose things for, because of them, but.
And how old was
the settlement.
How old was this gentleman?
He was 27.
Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
And he battled the cancer for 9 months, and it just completely consumed him. He was as big as I was, and when he passed, he was about 140 pounds, and I'm 250.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I was just kind of thinking, what you've been going through, and then if there was anything anything else that you had with the people that you had served with over there, whether they had they had problems as well.
Well, Andy, could you talk a little bit about the Iraqi rot? Because that's something that's not contagious at all, yet everyone gets it, right?
Right. Yeah, and they don't know what it is specifically, but just a note on that, I don't have it anymore.
Oh.
Okay.
I normally get it all the time, whether it's dry or wet. It doesn't matter what season. It just comes and goes and gets nasty. And
where generally, when you did have it, what areas of the body did it generally form?
It was my second toe of my right foot.
Okay.
Yeah, there was
right on the entire part of the metatarsal, as well as the digit itself.
Right. But it's completely gone now.
Yep, I haven't had any outbreaks or anything within 6 months, and that's a rarity because it's usually every other month.
Anybody else that you serve with have this and or still have it? Still has it?
Oh yeah. That and migraines from concussions and whatnot, and a bunch of other health issues.
Wow. This is, getting rid of those migraines. That's got to be huge.
Oh, I used to have them so bad that they would make my nose bleed, and I've seen multiple neurologists, one of the best in the country from Duke, and they couldn't explain why I was getting nosebleeds.
Okay. All right, so we got about 2 minutes. We got about 2 minutes left. Any other information that you want to convey out there, you and Jordan, whatever.
Well, the thing is, like Andrew's, I don't tell people not to go to doctors or not to go to neurologists or to not follow doctor advice, but it's just that this stuff is at the very end of the road for people. And if it doesn't work, like this or acupuncture or something strange, then they've got nothing left, it seems like.
Yeah.
So arthritis too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Andy,
Yep, my hernia is non-existent. Like you said, I run all the time. I lift. I'm back into the shape that I was before. My arthritis is the only pain that I feel now, which is walking upstairs, but I can actually do the Stairmaster, which was not even, there was no way that I could even do that before, let alone, run 4 or 5 miles without any pain and then having to ice for a couple of days after.
Okay, so we go about 55 seconds. Jordan, you want to give your information so that people can contact you?
Yeah. My email is Jordan DeYoung. That's JordanDejonge @hotmail. You can also contact me through like Facebook at DeYoung Health Consulting. YouTube at On Demand Jedi is fine too. And like the big thing about this stuff is this is really inexpensive scanning equipment and self-treatment equipment. So if the government and all these people are watching budget, this would be a much